know if it was from a YouTube video, maybe, or a book or something. But basically, the quote goes, "The man who wants nothing has everything." And it was crazy because it was probably one of the most profound quotes that I've heard in some time, because you think about how just in normal day-to-day life we're constantly thinking about, oh, let me look at this, let me try to get this thing. We're window shopping all the time, whether that's in person or online and things like that. And so we end up getting into this headspace where we convince ourselves that the only way that we'll be happy is if we get this one thing. And so when I first heard that quote, I thought about myself and I thought about how I love clothes, I love shoes, I love Lululemon, I love Polo Ralph Lauren, I love, Yeezys, New Balances, Asics, all those things. And of course, there's nothing wrong with those companies or anything like that, but there's something that happens when you're constantly in this habit of wanting more. What tends to happen over time is you really stop appreciating all of the things that you do have. So for me, for example, it's like I'll get a pair of Yeezys and I'll be super stoked. I'll love them, for a week or two. And before I know it, I'm focused on the next pair that I'm going to get. I'm already starting to think, ooh, do I want a pair of the 700 V3s? Do I want a pair of the 380s, which are slept on, by the way, low key. But if you know, you know. The the what's it called? The 380s, whether I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should get a pair of the 500s. Um, Maybe I should get, a pair of Asics or whatever. And so it's easy to get caught up in this cycle of constantly wanting more and never truly being happy with the things that we do have. And even in terms of clothes, because I'm a huge Lululemon fan, I feel like I've found myself constantly focusing on, oh, what Lulu can I acquire? How can I get more clothes? Or even if I go to the outlets and I get a few more pairs of shorts or whatever, I'm already thinking about, oh, well, I could get this t-shirt for the gym though, or I could get this hoodie for when I'm chilling at home, or I could get these sweats for, when I'm running errands, things like that. I'm already starting to think about, oh, I can get all of these extra things that will add more value to my life. And it's in the process of this chase of what more I can get, how I can acquire more, that I start to lose sight of the clothes that I do have. I start to be less grateful of the clothes that's actually in my closet because I'm so caught up in, oh, what more can I buy? How would getting something add more value to my life? And in the process of that, I also notice that I'll start to lose appreciation for the clothes that I do have. And so that was when it really started to occur to me that, wow, like that quote is so real. And also in terms of cars, in terms of things like that as well, I'm a huge car fan as well. And I feel like I have such expensive hobbies that it kind of makes it difficult. But when you're a car person, you love shoes, you love clothes, you could have just bought a new car 2 or 3 months ago and you'll appreciate it. And then before you know it, you're focused on, ooh, dang, but this new model just dropped of this car, or this company is working on this and this car. And ooh, well, if I wait long enough, I can trade this car in and then get this car, or whatever the case may be. And it's in the process of that we truly lose sight of the blessing that we even have a car, the blessing that we have something to take us from point A to point B. And we start thinking about lack. We start thinking about, yeah, this car, it gets me to work, it gets me home safely, but I could have something that's a little bit more advanced. I could have something that, would be a little bit, cleaner or nicer or whatever the case may be. And so, because of that, we become so short sighted that we lose appreciation for the things that we do have. And in terms of homes, the same thing can happen where you can have an apartment and you can be so focused on getting the house, getting, the bigger space that you lose sight of the appreciation of even having a roof over your head as well. And so, shout out to Bill Wildman as well. I see you in the comments for sure. I hope you're having a great day. And if you're still on here, I hope you have a great weekend as well. Um, and so I made an outline for this as well because I didn't want to forget, talking about anything. But basically, that quote really got me thinking that maybe abundance isn't necessarily about just having more. Maybe this whole thing with abundance is about wanting less. Because we tend to hear the phrase all the time, abundance mindset. Oh, I have an abundance mindset because, I don't live in scarcity. I don't focus on what I don't have. I learn to appreciate everything that I do have. And so there's something so beautiful about that because we can really live an abundant life when we're not so focused and so bogged down on all of the things that we do have. And we give ourselves space and room to appreciate the things that we do have going for us as well. And so, another thing I put down on here that I wanted to talk about was um, essentially like yesterday I was talking about like credit cards and how it can get so easy to overspend. It can get so easy to think, oh, well, with my credit limit, I have enough money that technically I can buy this thing and not be, and my card won't decline. But when we think deeper about it, even if you could technically put that on your credit card, we tend to not really think about the long term, about, oh, well, do we actually have the money to buy all those shoes? But just because, technically we can put it on our credit card, we just don't think about the long term ramifications of those actions. We don't think about, oh, well, at some point, interest is going to build up. At some point, we're going to need to pay all of this back. And so, another thing I put on here that I wanted to talk about was how companies make billions convincing us that we're one purchase away from feeling complete. But at the end of the day, if your happiness always depends on what's next, then you can never fully be in a position to enjoy what's now. And you think about how even ads, whether you're watching TV or whether you're on Instagram or whatever, all of these ads are thrown at you to make you think about how you don't have this one thing, but your life could be so much better with it. You think about how you're scrolling on Instagram, minding your business, and now all of a sudden you see an ad from a fashion company and you see some really dope jackets and hoodies and t-shirts. And now all of a sudden you're on this website looking at all of the things that they've got when you didn't even go on Instagram for that initially. You just wanted to see what your friends were up to. But now you've been exposed to this website, to this company, and now your peaceful day of just kind of scrolling, seeing what your friends, are up to. Now you're instantly thinking, ooh, well, this jacket is really nice and it's $100. Maybe I could move some things, make this happen. Or, the t-shirt is $45 plus $10 shipping. I guess that's under $100. I'll just buy a t-shirt. But what we don't realize is now we spent $55 or maybe 60 after tax or whatever when we didn't need to or we didn't intend on doing that. And so if we do that 3 or 4 times over, now we wonder, oh, well, why is my credit card statement so high? And it's because marketing is built that way. The whole point of marketing is really to make you realize that you want something before you realize it yourself. So if they're good enough with their ads, if they're good enough with their products and their innovation, they will make you realize that you need that hoodie before you even realize that you do. or they'll make you realize, or they'll make you think that you want something, or they'll make you think you need something when you really don't. And you think about how, even in terms of Amazon as well, if you're just scrolling on Amazon or whatever, you'll see all of these products where half the time you didn't even know they existed, but now you're convincing yourself that you need it because it looks super cool, or because you can get it in 1 or 2 days with Amazon Prime. And so it convinces us to essentially spend more money and to constantly live from this state of this mindset of scarcity, to have us constantly thinking that what we have in the present moment isn't enough. And so I think, yes, I think capitalism has its positives in the sense that it, of course, has allowed a lot of people to realize and live the American dream, and it's allowed a lot of people to change the lives of their families. It's allowed a lot of people to build generational wealth. But I think it's also important to not fall victim to capitalism. And I think that's something that I'm still struggling with currently, is trying to work through all of that and trying to figure out, okay, well, if I struggle with spending, how can I get better with this? How can I fix my mindset to the point where I don't feel like I'm suffering if I'm not spending money on clothes? And I get to a point where I'm actually more at peace and happier not buying clothes. Because that's something I've struggled with, where whenever I've gone through seasons of not buying shoes or not buying clothes, I've always kind of seen it as like a sad time of, oh, well, if I had money, I would have bought this shirt. If I had money, I would have bought these shoes. And I think a lot of us get in that mindset of living in lack and living in kind of sadness and darkness when we're trying not to spend money on things. We convince ourselves that somehow, some way, because we're not in a position to spend money on something, it's almost like it makes us feel like we're lesser than, in a way, because especially if we have friends that do have it like that. If we have friends, or if we see online that people do have a means to, spend money and to buy all of these things. And so, yeah, you guys, so I want to make this live to kind of talk about those things. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I want to end this with a message, and I want to say, today, before you buy anything else, pause for a second. Look around your room, look in your closet, and look at the people in your life. Look at the opportunities that you've already been given. Gratitude doesn't mean that you'll never buy anything else for yourself, that you'll never buy the shoes or buy the clothes. It just means that you refuse to let what you don't have rob you of the joy of what you already do have. And so, if you guys stayed with me for this entire live, I appreciate you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see all of you in the next video.